What's up?
What's up, guys? So today we're talking about, something doesn't feel right. Today we're talking about, where am I? And who the fuck are you guys? Is this the Josh show? Is this really where I ended up? After everything I've done in my life has all led up to this moment, that being me on the fucking Josh show.
Why are we still here? Just to suffer?
No, what am I doing? Fuck this. Fuck that Josh guy.
For the past few days, I received many requests from other YouTubers and followers to cover the story about BuzzFeed stealing again from one YouTube creator. I understand you'd rather hear me talking about any other topic, including answering questions like, why does my cat vibrate? To which the answer is, you have set it on silent mode. Or can I safely look at a picture of the sun? To which the answer is, yes, but briefly. We have already seen BuzzFeed doing these things in the past, but this time the claim comes from YouTube creator Jacqueline Glenn, the girl that has stolen Onision's heart without even apologizing. Jacqueline basically accuses BuzzFeed of stealing one of the episodes from her series The Skeptic's Guide to Wellness. And the overlaps, this is how BuzzFeed calls the similarities between Jacqueline's video and their video, are overwhelming, overexposing, and overexploited. Have a look.
First of all, I'm like super sick right now. And second of all, I have to hold myself back from wanting to punch a hole through the fucking wall. Ugh. So, remember that video I posted like a week ago? BuzzFeed stole from me, where I went through shot by shot and showed how BuzzFeed ripped off my show that I worked super hard on, The Skeptic's Guide to Wellness, available on full screen. But they ripped off my video where I went to a witchcraft shop in Los Angeles. They went to the exact same shop. And I made this video kind of exposing them, and my reason for doing so primarily was so that they would see that and maybe not do it again. But I failed, apparently. I failed miserably because they just did it again. The video I posted after my BuzzFeed expose was about crystal healing and how this lady that I went to who practiced crystal healing thought it could be a cure for cancer.
When people come in here for this type of healing, what are some of the things that they are looking to solve?
Probably depression. Insomnia is a very, very big thing, and cancer.
Cancer.
You know, obviously crystal healing doesn't work. It doesn't cure cancer, because if it did, we wouldn't have any more BuzzFeed. So that was a clip from my crystal healing episode, and I posted that a week ago. 6 days later, 6 days, BuzzFeed comes out with this shit. Women try crystal healing for chronic pain.
Hi, I'm Kelsey.
And I'm Laura.
So, same story as last time. I found out about this by going on Twitter and having my entire mentions full of people saying, oh my god, look, BuzzFeed did it again. Holy shit, I can't believe they have the balls to do this shit twice in a row. This time they did not go to the same exact location that I went to, but their video follows the exact same format. You give a brief summary of what crystal healing is and how people use it. You go in, you actually experience it for yourself. You talk to a person who practices crystal healing or Reiki, which is where they put their hands like over your body and try to feel your vibes and figure out where you have like areas of stress without even touching you. They line up the crystals on your stomach and chest and on your forehead. You make comments like, oh my gosh, this is so weird. I can't believe that I'm here. The crystal healer makes sure to say that this is a complementary treatment and should not be used to replace modern medicine. And then you point out that of course it may work for some people, but that is just the result of either relaxation or the placebo effect. Boom! Done video. Exact replica of mine. I may be a little biased here, but I do think mine was better.
I can totally feel how much you think. You think a lot, like a lot. What are you feeling? It's cold on my forehead. That's nice.
But anyways, let's see it. It's shot for shot. Same thing as before.
The idea of, you know, not even putting your hands on the person to feel where there might be tension. You know, you're like a foot above them and somehow you can feel like where the areas of stress are.
Wow, check it out. It's literally the exact same thing happening on BuzzFeed. Awesome.
I felt kind of silly. I was laying on a table with a bunch of rocks on me. Like, What am I doing here?
It's hard to get in that mindset of not being like, what the hell are we doing here? And take it seriously.
I couldn't really take it seriously. Yeah.
What are we doing here?
What the hell are we doing here?
What am I doing here?
I can't take it seriously.
And take it seriously.
I couldn't really take it seriously.
Wow, how about that, BuzzFeed?
I have a crystal dildo, to be honest, that someone recently gave me because they felt like it was going to heal me, but...
Were you supposed to shove it up
Yeah,
there like
that's
a
the
fucking...
thing, like...
Wow, I can't believe that. There are crystal dildos. Glad that you guys pointed that out, because I hadn't already done it.
You have, a crystal dildo. This is the butt plug.
Okay, and let's just make sure everyone has it crystal clear that, you can't use this to replace modern medicine, but it is complementary.
Since those claims have not been proven, oil and crystal should be used as complementary medicine, used in addition to rather than instead of regular treatment.
Complementary practice with chemotherapy and radiation.
So complementary is an important
Complementary is very important. It's not that it replaces.
Okay.
I wouldn't prescribe it in lieu of anything. I think that's the mistake or misinformation that's out there, because it can very much complement Western medicine.
It's complementary.
Complementary.
It's complementary medicine.
Complementary.
Complementary is very important.
Crystal healing may have a placebo effect on people because patients experience a positive outcome.
So yes, to that end, they can be helpful in the same way that anything that's a placebo can be helpful. It's in your mind.
BuzzFeed, please stay the fuck off my channel.
Okay, in this story there are lots of messages sent back and forth between Jacqueline and BuzzFeed's creator that I'm not gonna show you now, but you can find everything on my website, link down below. But at one point, Kelsey Darragh, one of the creators accused by Jacqueline Glenn of stealing her idea, tweets this. I've literally never heard of this chick before yesterday. To which Jacqueline replies with a screenshot proving that they've been Facebook friends for over 2 years. And Kelsey at this point replies, sorry, you're not that memorable, I guess. So now let's set aside the comments and the tweets. I want to focus now on the timeline. Jacqueline's video was published on September the 8th, while BuzzFeed's video was published on the 30th of September. In an article co-written by Sarah Rubin and Kelsey Darragh, both accused of copying Jacqueline, published on Medium.com, a sort of extension propaganda website for BuzzFeed, owned by Twitter's ex-chairman and CEO Evan Clark Williams, where BuzzFeed's creators and editors are invited, and there they can vent their frustration or just talk about BuzzFeed. But in this article, they show screenshots of conversations, emails, and the project timeline dating back to May. A timeline so lame that even Jacqueline decided to mock them with this. Basically, they made themselves look like they've just made the whole thing up, because apparently at BuzzFeed they only know how to use Microsoft Paint. I'm not saying that it's wrong doing what other YouTubers do, especially if you are a small YouTuber with limited resources. But at least when you work or are a massive company like BuzzFeed, don't make things up with Paint, use Photoshop. And Jacqueline now is doing what she's supposed to do, ridicule them, call them out, and make everything public. But my questions on this story are, do they really need 4 months to shoot a 5-minute video in a shot? And do they really think that a couple of screenshots and a lame timeline made with Microsoft Paint can convince people into believing that BuzzFeed just happened to copy 2 of Jacqueline's videos? I kind of smell bullshit, but it is possible that all this is just a coincidence. But BuzzFeed was already caught stealing content from other creators in the past. March the 21st, 2016, Cosmopolitan publishes a video titled Women Try On Their Old Prom Dresses. A few weeks later, BuzzFeed publishes an identical video. But the scavenge doesn't stop here. December the 9th, The Human Experiment publishes a video titled Adults Try Breast Milk. A few days later, BuzzFeed publishes an identical video. Morgan James publishes Simon the Cat Refuses to Dog because he's a cat. Although 2 years is a good gap, now we are shitting on BuzzFeed, so fuck it. 2 years later, BuzzFeed publishes an identical video. Theo McCoy publishes a video titled Baking Cookies Without a Recipe on the 24th of June 2015. A year later, BuzzFeed kind of celebrated the video's first anniversary with an identical replica. Linda D Production was victim of a theft have too. She published a video titled If Your Period Was a Person on the 18th of August 2014. BuzzFeed Yellow, a channel that has been now rebranded to Baldy, makes an identical video. Nick Chipman, a food blogger at Dude Foods, also claims BuzzFeed's Tasty lifted his idea. The oven temperature, cooking time and method of cutting and baking the meat taco were exactly like the recipe on my blog, said Chipman in an interview. Even the photograph was taken at the same angle. Again, Suk Tioma's video titled Native American Makeup Tutorial was copied 10 months later. Movoto Originals was robbed about a month later as well. And Steven Spielberg releases Saving Private Ryan on July the 24th, 1998. BuzzFeed published Raving Private Ryan a couple of weeks later. Okay, I made this one up, but you get my point, don't you? And that's why we are talking about this and are forced to seriously think about what BuzzFeed is doing. There are also images posted by other users claiming that as soon as they started calling out BuzzFeed, they deleted their comments. Although I think they were not deleted, but simply filtered out. For example, these two have words like what a fuck and fucking that could make them vulnerable to the automatic moderation system on YouTube. BuzzFeed then gets in touch with Jacqueline in a sort of threatening way. Keep in mind, BuzzFeed is a massive company. Jacqueline Glenn is compared to them, is a tiny YouTuber. Essentially, Jacqueline replies that she will not be pushed around because she's a woman with balls. And then BuzzFeed sent her this message. Finally, we'd like to point out that you're not attacking some obscure large corporation. You're attacking two women who care a lot about the content they produce and the people that content resonates with. We'd like to dispel the myth that BuzzFeed operates like some Wizard of Oz organization and instead promote the truth, which is that every producer at BuzzFeed is an independent creator working on things they are passionate about. And this is the message that convinced me to make this video. So now we have two new questions. Is BuzzFeed advising his people to copy from other creators? And do they really steal ideas and materials? The short answer is yes, and now you can go to the toilet. But if you don't need to poop, I'm gonna show you that once you start digging into BuzzFeed, shit is thrown up into the air at a really high pressure. A company like BuzzFeed is well structured. They research everything. In Paretti's words, BuzzFeed was born as a tech company. They know where people are, they know how to reach them, and they know what they want to consume. Basically, cats, recipes, and dicks. Kelsey Darragh shifted their result. Otherwise, it would have been cats, recipes, and puppies. In 2014, Jon Stewart, the comedian and television host, kind of accused BuzzFeed of clickbait, saying, I scroll around, but when I look at the internet, I feel the same as when I'm walking through Coney Island. It's like carnival barkers, and they all sit out there and go, come on here and see a three-legged man. So you walk in and it's a guy with a crutch. That time BuzzFeed took it personal and felt compelled to reply with a lame explanation on an article titled Why BuzzFeed Doesn't Do Clickbait, which they clearly do. Written by, and this is not gonna surprise you, BuzzFeed Editor-in-Chief Ben Smith, explaining that clickbait has originated in the old media, not on the web. Therefore, what they do is not clickbaiting, but their articles simply have great headlines, like 15 hedgehogs with things that look like hedgehogs, or 18 photos of Albert Einstein being super chill. And this is my personal favorite, 27 ticks that prove you are from Estonia. And the problem with the last one is that I've just made it up right now. But the fact that for a second you believe that this was an actual article by BuzzFeed proves the status and reputation of this company. This is a list of 30 link-based phrases in BuzzFeed headlines that generate the most amount of Facebook shares, heavily used by BuzzFeed. After Ben Smith published his article, Kehoe, a company that offers social media analytics for journalists, marketers, and publishers, looked at the last 1,500 Twitter posts by BuzzFeed to calculate how many of them were clickbait, and found out that a full 63% of BuzzFeed's last 1,500 posts were clickbait. In other words, 2/3 of their posts had titles that didn't inform their readers directly, but rather encouraged them to click into the article to find out the answer. So now that we have finally proved that BuzzFeed is a clickbait company, there is another problem. Do they steal ideas and materials from creators like Jacqueline Glenn? Well, before answering this question, I need you to hear this story told by BuzzFeed CEO Jonah Paretti.
In my case, I went to Nike's website because I heard they had just launched Nike ID where you could customize your shoes. And I thought, oh, wonder if I could get a pair of shoes with the word sweatshop on the side. So it would have the Nike swoosh and it would say sweatshop underneath, and I could wear them around and people would think it was funny. So I mean,
not the kids who made them, but other people think it was funny.
Well, and so I was like, are they actually going to send them to me? I'm like, what are they going to do? And so so I ordered the shoes, and then the order went through. I put my credit card in, and then the next day I got an email saying the ID you chose is another. Or the ID you chose is inappropriate slang, so you can't use it. So I wrote back and I said, no, actually, it's in the dictionary. It means a shop or factory where workers toil under unhealthy conditions. And
you may have seen them.
Can you send me the shoes? And then they wrote back another thing like, well, it's a trademark or it's a this. And we had this back and forth. And at the end, they just said, well, look, we just we reserve the right to not send you the shoes. So unless you pick another ID. And I said, okay, I'll pick another ID, but can you at least send me a picture of the 12-year-old Vietnamese girl who stitches the shoes together? And then they didn't write back. And so.
And you were just bored and fucking with them. Like you weren't.
Yeah, I was just, and I thought it was kind of funny, and I wasn't an expert on sweatshops. I didn't know anything about sweatshops except what I had read in the New York Times, and so it was more just like a goof.
So one of the things that made BuzzFeed the massive company that it is today is in fact their idea of cheap labor combined with stolen content, collecting money from huge corporations and mass producing shitty articles. Basically, BuzzFeed is a sort of online sweatshop. Hashtag BuzzFeed sweatshop. And you cannot argue with that. Their business model is pretty simple. Most of these companies don't produce anything. In fact, 2/3 of their articles are made up of things they find online that they republish and share for their own monetary gain. BuzzFeed is just like an internet parasite, and the term is not misleading because parasites, just like BuzzFeed, have some potential benefits. BuzzFeed steals from you in order to survive, but at the same time, it has the potential to spread very quickly very important stories. While parasitic gut worms, for example, might kill you, but before killing you, they're also able to cure monkeys with chronic diarrhea and fix their immune system. So BuzzFeed and parasites share a lot of similarities. And believe me, those shitty articles filled with your stuff add up. BuzzFeed profit in 2016 was about $250 million. And they don't do anything, they just use what they find online. And the only time you should be forgiven for stealing is when you are clinically depressed, you have an unhealthy obsession for Disney, you travel all the way to Japan only to visit one city, Tokyo, and you're called simply Ken. BuzzFeed creators like Sarah Rubin and Kaisley Darragh say that they are independent creators, which is not remotely true, and that they're not told to copy from other creators. But I know a lot of people working for Testmate, Testy, and Twisted that told me the opposite thing. This is what one of the directors of Jungle Creation, a huge company like BuzzFeed and Testmate, told me. These companies, just like our company, direct their creators to look for viral contents online. When our creators run out of ideas, we tell them to go on YouTube, Pinterest, and other social platforms. You see a recipe you like, change one ingredient, and boom! Here's your new viral video. This is common practice in our industry. And BuzzFeed doesn't tell only his people how to steal and what terms to use when they're caught, like overlap, but they are actually pretty open on what their business tactic is all about. Look what they have written on the FAQ section of BuzzFeed.com. What should I post to BuzzFeed? Post cool, funny, interesting stuff that you have found online or made yourself that you think has a strong chance of going viral and being shared by other people. Incidentally, this is also something that you would say about Italian former Prime Minister Silvio Berlusconi's lovers, gone viral and shared by others. And in the FAQ section, they also add, better yet, post list of things. Here are some examples of awesome lists that you can look at for inspiration. BuzzFeed's editors will feature the best posts from BuzzFeed's community on our front page every day. So it really seems at this point that BuzzFeed really encourages people to steal. And this is not a secret, it is public on their website. And if you working at BuzzFeed, have recordings of supervisors and managers talking about this, please send it here. I will be happy to make everything public, because that's the seed of our current problems. On the other hand, to be fair, BuzzFeed sometimes does amplify marginalized voices. And here then we have another problem, like Cat Black claims in her video The Dark Side of BuzzFeed, they actually don't even pay their consultants.
A few months ago, I was contacted by a trans guy that worked for BuzzFeed. He invited me and some of the hardest working trans people in LA down to Siren Studios to brainstorm trans-related video topics. Like I said, BuzzFeed was a website that I respected, and a large part of that respect comes from their reach. BuzzFeed videos get millions of views, and I thought that contributing my ideas to BuzzFeed without compensation was all for the greater good. That wasn't until a fellow trans person in the email chain asked if we were going to be compensated for our time. They explained that trans people often work for free or for very little because they want to be heard or included. Not paying them perpetuates the same type of oppression that creates this specific type of desperation. If we give our ideas to BuzzFeed for free, who gets paid at the end of the day? Not the mostly trans people of color who are consulting the team, but the cis white men at the top of the company.
BuzzFeed reaches millions of people, so this alone sounds amazing. Whatever you might think about BuzzFeed, we can all agree that once an important story has been published, the reach of the story has a greater impact in everyone's life. For example, the time they published this article, 21 life-changing lessons from the Dalai Lama's Twitter account. That was pretty inspiring. Or this pumpkin pie recipe, I'm sure it changed many families. Or this article, you might be cleaning your penis wrong. It changed my life! Finally, I got rid of that cheesy smell. And I want to focus for 1 second on BuzzFeed's list, because what they do here is, as one US lawyer we've talked to told us, this is online art theft on a massive scale. This list is titled 25 Safe for Work Photos That You Still Shouldn't Open at Work, written by Phil Jenner, BuzzFeed Redaction, Deutschland. In this list there are 6 images from Imager, 17 from Reddit, 1 from 9aga.com and 1 from knowyourmem.com. None of these images come from BuzzFeed, meaning Phil has simply produced an article for BuzzFeed with stolen images without authorization and allowed BuzzFeed to make a huge profit out of it. But you know me, I like getting to the bottom of things. I'm never satisfied. So I went back to that FAQ section and clicked on the awesome examples BuzzFeed is so much bragging about. I clicked on it and ended up on this page. From here to my choice, I selected the first list. 19 pets in Halloween costumes who really just want to stay home this year. And I started contacting the owners of the pictures on this article. This literally happened a few hours before I published this video. And 2 saw my DMs. The first one is the owner of this picture, Kate P. And this is part of our conversation. Hello, I'd like to ask you one question about one of your pictures that ended up on BuzzFeed. I have a picture on BuzzFeed? Just found it. Pretty cool. Oh, they never asked you permission? Nope, didn't know a thing about it. I assume because my Twitter account is public. And then I contacted another person that did not authorize me to show his name, but he was quite pissed. Hello, I'd like to ask you one question about one of your pictures that ended up on BuzzFeed. What the fuck? What picture? And I sent him the link. Motherfuckers! I knew shit. What now? Not sure to be honest, but I'd like to use this conversation in my next video to prove how full of shit BuzzFeed is, making millions stealing pictures from everyone. Can I use this conversation? Sure, shield my name. Don't want those eat shit fuckers around my account no more. Of course, no problem. Thank you so much, your name. Thank you, Snitch. Haha. So yes, BuzzFeed doesn't ask, because asking would require too much time and effort, and time is money. Instead, they advise people to take/steal. Because who cares? They credit. Crediting is nice. Crediting is free. Without any authorization, no right. They make millions upon millions while people out there do their job for free, and without even knowing it. And BuzzFeed has been doing this forever, with virtually all of their lists. To get around this, to get compensated or ask damages is not as simple. Step 1. You need to find out your country's copyright law. You need to find the definition of a copied artwork. For example, in my country, if I copy more than 20%, it constitutes copyright infringement. Less than 20% does not. For example, I can take Paretti's face, which is about 8% of the whole body mass of an adult, and layer it on my finger. This is now an original artwork that you can download and use for free from my website, link down below. Step 2. Gather evidences. You will need screenshots of your stolen artwork, and also a screenshot of the Google search result of that particular article. To do this, you can use Nimbus, a free plugin for your browser. Step 3. Consider the potential gains. Consider how much profit the offender, in this case BuzzFeed, has gained from it. Don't be satisfied with an apology or a credit, but also remember that is silly to start a lawsuit for one image. Demand instead a fair retribution for revenue loss, based on the amount of money that single article has made, divided by the percentage your image takes on that page, along with a cease and desist letter from your lawyer. And make everything public, because your action might inspire someone else. Step 4, class action lawsuit. If you know out there are other artists like you having their work stolen by the same company, you might want to consider a class action lawsuit. Basically, it involves you ganging up with all the other creators and sue the company. And one of the benefits of a class action lawsuit is the publicity that can be generated around it. So the company is more likely to pay up, plus costs are less and returns are greater per person. Now, the United States copyright law protects original works of authorship. This law virtually protects everything, published and unpublished works. I'm not saying that it's a perfect law, but it could help. It's like parents of teenagers reducing the weekly allowance to just $5. You know this will only encourage your daughter to sell her nude pictures online, but you are doing your best. I want to show you now one of BuzzFeed's contracts. This is called Proprietary Information and Inventions Agreement, and it says, assignment to the full extent under applicable law, title and interest in and to all inventions that are made, conceived or reduced to practice in whole or in part by me during the term of my employment with the company and which arise out of research or other activity conducted by me for or under the direction of the company. I hereby make and agree to make all assignments to the company necessary to accomplish the foregoing ownership. We have also talked to one person that has worked for BuzzFeed, and they told us basically what other YouTubers have shared, which is that BuzzFeed is able to fire you at any time if your video have a poor reach. And then they told us to check section 6 of this other contract. Employment relationship. Employment with the company is for no specific period of time. Your employment with the company will be at will, meaning that either you or the company may terminate your employment at any time and for any reason, with or without cause. So they steal materials, they own whatever people produce, they make a ton of money, and still they can get away with it. One last thing I want to talk about is the connection between BuzzFeed and corporation. Have you noticed that BuzzFeed doesn't have something that all the other websites have? Ads. BuzzFeed doesn't have ads because banners are not that effective. So how can BuzzFeed survive and make money? Investors, meaning native advertising. Yes, BuzzFeed is a native advertising online shop. It means they allow companies to write articles that resemble an original editorial content, but is paid for by an advertiser and intended to promote a product. And if you don't believe me, here is BuzzFeed's CEO and urethra's parasite fish impersonator, Jonah Paretti.
The word native advertising gets used by lots of different people to serve their own interests. When I think about it, I just think that you need to make content and advertising fit the way people consume media. If you can't make an ad that is a 30-second television spot that would be perfect for television, you can't make that work when people are sharing something in a messaging app. You need to think about what's the actual dynamic of how people are engaging with media, and then make your advertising and your marketing actually match those behaviors. And so we're not doing native advertising on BuzzFeed, we're creating branded content for the social web. And so it's really native advertising for all the different platforms where people share our content, not just for the BuzzFeed site. I think you're going to see more and more branded content as people become aware of the fact that you can't interrupt people and get them to hear your message. You have to make a message that's engaging.
There are so many bad words in this clip to describe something that looks like a genuine article, to serve their own interest, to make it fit. Oh, you're gonna see more and more branded contents. That sounds really, really bad. Yes, it could have been worse if that clip contained words like animal, anal sex, and Harvey Weinstein. But Paretti also said, we are not making native advertising on BuzzFeed. Really? I mean, really? This article was written a few days ago by BuzzFeed deputy, whatever that means, books editor. 14 absolutely breathtaking photos taken at night. All the pictures are from National Geographic. At the bottom of the page there is this. To learn more about night vision, click here. And it goes straight to Amazon. This article, published on March 2015, is titled 11 Things All Busy Families Should Make Time For. This page is sponsored by KFC. You see, KFC here, here, and here. October 2012, 20 Things You Didn't Know Were Illegal, paid for by Discovery. But they also want you to know that this post has not been vetted or endorsed by BuzzFeed's editorial staff. BuzzFeed Community is a place where anyone creates a post. Learn more about or post your buds. Well, I checked the community and the first post on the list was this one, and it doesn't have the same disclaimer. very fishy or very old. Maybe this is how they tricked people in 2012 into believing native ads were genuine articles. And my coworker taught me how to tweet like a pro, published in October 2017 by a member of BuzzFeed ad team and BuzzFeed partner Twitter. The same Twitter founded by Evan Clark Williams, also founder of Medium.com, the website I've already told you about, where BuzzFeed editors and creators go to attack people like Jacqueline and conduct propaganda for BuzzFeed. So, this page was created and written by BuzzFeed partner Twitter. This means that even if you don't know what it is or never heard of it, you've been subjected to it. Because the problem with the native advertising is that people don't realize or can't realize that these are not real, genuine articles. It's like me saying, oh, I'm a great lover. Last night I finished making love at 5 a.m. But what you don't know is that I was making love to my hand and I started at 4:58 a.m. So how much revenue does BuzzFeed make out of native advertising? During an interview with Bloomberg in June 2017, Jonah Paretti said 100% of our revenue comes from branded content. So we have a lot of partners who are marketers and major brands who work with 76 to the top 100 brands now. 100%. And BuzzFeed is not the only company that is doing this. National Geographic, The Times, The Atlantic, they're all doing the same thing. And more companies are following that trend. This is how Andy Whitlin from BuzzFeed explains what native advertising is during a seminar in Australia.
All right, so our definition of native advertising is paid ads that are so cohesive with the content and they're assimilated into the design and consistent with the platform behavior that the viewer simply feels that they belong.
On paper, we have fashion magazines that essentially work in the same way. For example, this is a fashion magazine without ads. So this is not something new, we've been dealing with this all our lives, but it's up to us to recognize what a company is doing. In this case, BuzzFeed is stealing materials from other creators all over the internet, yet making millions upon millions from huge, massive corporations. And this is becoming a huge problem, especially when they allow companies like Shell to publish this. Reducing the environmental impact of driving. This is the same company that is fucking up our planet. So BuzzFeed is not what it looks like. BuzzFeed works for massive corporations.
I could be learning. You